Alright, hello. Match 7. Round 3, Team USA versus Team Catalonia. Got a substitute. Alex Black not feeling well. Alejandro's going to step in playing Martell for Team USA. Let's take a look at the decks here. Alright, here is... Oh no! Whoa, did I pull the wrong thing? Wait a second, do I have the wrong matchup here?
Alright.
We're doing, I pulled up the wrong thing. This is Alex Black's matchup, right?
Correct, yep. US's Mystery Knight versus Greyjoy.
Yes. Alright, let's pull that up.
Greyjoy Conclave, no less. And the game is up. They haven't loaded into the game itself, but the lobby is all set to go.
Okay, great. Alright, so there's the Martell Wolf. First Snow, Valor M, couple of Marched. Versus Harren. Alright, so I've got this matchup all completely wrong on my sheet, so we'll fix that in a bit. But here is the Catalonian Greyjoy Conclave. Alright.
Yep, lots of Maesters and a lot of the high-cost Greyjoy characters. The big thing on the deck is Corpse Lake, where they have glass candles and all sorts of pillage to be able to have Corpse Lake just try and gain a bunch of power. However, a lot of the Maesters are all low cost, low strength, so you have tools like Ward and Venomous Blade from Martell Wolf's side to really answer them, and then set up March to the Wall to get the big characters off the board. There's not much in the way, though, on the Greyjoy side of location control or destruction. Maester Moonmere is the only option to cancel any location abilities. So as long as they don't hit the discard pile, then they're going to be safe from Euron trying to steal them. That's going to be another big important piece of being able to get Dorne, Starfall, Guest and Grey, Water Gardens down on the board and not having them stolen. And in terms of plots on the Greyjoy Conclave, we got Leap Smart Feast as the big econ. And then we've got Time of Plenty and Supporting the Faith as 6 gold slots, so those are still give some flexibility of econ to be able to play out cards. Otherwise, there's Rationing, which will stop reactions, which can shut off Dorne for a turn, and Desert Raiders, so that can also be impactful. There's Outwit that can cancel when revealed effects if they have a unique Maester. And then their own Valor Morghulis and You Win or You Die.
Alright, both players kept.
Yeah, looks like 4 cards set up on Alejandro's side for Martell Wolf. And then Harren, see what they set up. Alright, so we have Gaston Grey, Dornish Fiefdom, Desert Raider, House Dane, Escort, a very annoying setup to deal with Dupe Euron, Iron Fishmonger. Yeah, and Sea Tower. That Gaston Grey especially, because, like I said, there's not much in the way of location control that they're staring at. Again,
Steven here.
Hey,
Steve.
Welcome. So, Maester Moonmere is the one card they have that can answer the Gaston Grey. Otherwise, they're just going to have to essentially run into it.
Still, pretty good setup for Greyjoy as well, though.
Yeah, dupes are always good. However,
yeah, I think this is as close to ideal as possible for both. Alejandro, I guess, would probably want to see Dorne as well, but as long as he sees that soon.
Yeah, and Gaston Grey can at least stop the Euron shenanigans from going too wild on this board to hopefully buy some time to get Dorne down. The Balon Greyjoy
Time
in
of
this
Plenty
matchup
was a favorite plot of Alejandro's back in the day. Haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, Time of Plenty, and we get yet another dupe on Euron, so interesting that they go for the other dupe as well.
Yeah.
That would lead to believe that they're not going to just run headlong into Gaston Gray. Otherwise, you possibly could have run into it, get bounced back, and then it's a tempo hit, but then replay him out like the following turn off like a late summer feast, and then dupe him again. But Balon Greyjoy is actually going to be an annoying tool that they can have to work with, because he's able to deal things out of your opponent's discard pile. So between Glass Candle, Pillage, and just general, discard and everything, that can be really rough to deal with. All right. So for Marshalline, in addition to the dupe, we get Visor to the Crown and Gorod Goodbrother on the board. Just another Pillage Renown body, but he also will stand if a location goes into the opponent's discard pile. So he can sometimes quickly rush down a game if there's a lot of locations hitting the discard pile.
I believe triggering Gaston will also trigger Gorald.
Yes, that it would. For the
I guess
Hunter side, we have
you can Glass Candle and
yes,
even
Glass Candle as well can also do it as well, because it just has to be put into the discard pile for the reaction. So even stuff like Box Balon stealing like a King's Road, for example, and triggering it can trigger Gorod Goodbrother, and that was a line in the decks that used to run Force March, where you could kneel him out and then get cheeky and get a stand off of him. But we get Dornish Fiefdoms down. We also have a Water Gardens, which isn't going to do all that much, or looks like he's actually taking... Oh, it was a misclick. Okay. All right. We have Bolt and Flare just marshal trade up in a Summer Seaport. So, no Dorn.
Flare is huge to kill the little maesters, though.
Yeah. And that Bolt and Flare is going to do some work. No gold saved on either side. So, no tricks currently outside of what's on board. And we're just going to have an Intrigue for 1 coming in with Advisor Crown, Glass Candle trigger, and Ward getting flipped. That's it's 1 of 3.
It does show you you don't expect Geralt to go into a challenge here, or else wouldn't you have saved that Glass Candle as a way to possibly stand him?
Yeah. And honestly, with this board state, it's be interested to see how they sequence from here. We have Bolt and Flare just stuffing the Intrigue, just protecting that hand, because we already know Water Guard's in there, and that is something that Alejandro wants to keep protected, because it's going to start paying off dividends even just starting next turn.
I'm surprised that Euron got duped instead of not duping him, baiting the Gaston, and then trying to steal the Gaston next turn.
Yep, no, I absolutely agree. And we actually have passive challenges from there. Alejandro just passes challenges because he can't get through either of those, and Gaston Gray isn't going to work on the offense. So just straight to dominance and moving on, and Flare just ripping away the Advisor. Now, as for plots, I don't expect first snow to hit here, because Alejandro would lose his board completely. I could see Loan or March the Wall likely being the considerations here. It's too early for Windeye, and we're going to have Loan into Late Summer Feast. And Alejandro's just going to make Harren the first player here. So Storm's Fiefdoms are just going to give him even more gold. So Alejandro's going to have a lot of gold to work with whatever he's got in hand. But 9 gold is enough to get down, possibly a cheap body, and then like one of the bigs, so an Asha, Balon. That's really going to be able to help start impacting the game. One important thing that Greyjoy Conclave is running as a restricted is Drowned God Fanatic, so being able to do like the Ward Ramses or Venomous Blade triggers, Ramsey being shut off, Ariane being shut off, Molten Flare, those are all triggers that can really impact the board and just buy some breathing room. So we do have Maester Mohenmere hitting the board. That's the one Goffy that can deal with Gas and Grace, so that gives some flexibility. And then Andrik the Unsmiling as well. So and then King of Salt and Rock going on Euron just as an additional power claim along with Glass Candle.
Wait, did Glass Candle go up?
Yes.
There's Glass Candle on Euron. Oh, he just doesn't care about the insight. Got it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because Maester Mohenmere, he's not going to be hopping in any challenges.
I think I forgot that you could even marshal it on a non-Maester.
Yeah, because it gives insight if it's Maester, but the challenge action itself, that's able to just go through. So there's a lot of work to be done on the attrition side here. A Venomous Blade here would help a lot, because then that would start...
Or Ward.
Yeah.
You gotta deal with Mirrored Mirror, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest issue with Ward is you then have to answer Andrik the Unsmiling, because if he gets to the pillage reaction, he can get rid of Ward.
You can ward Andrik.
Yeah. Though I think Mohenmere here is the biggest thing, because him on board lets Gas and Gray just be a non-issue.
Totally. I think Alejandro's also looking for Thorn or Greenblood Trader.
Yeah, so we have Water Gardens coming down. So 7 cards in hand.
Thinking. If a Venomous Blade comes down on Mirror, would you Risen to save him? Is he that critical?
Yes. If Mirror dies here, that's your best answer to Gas and Gray. Like, Gas and Gray is absolutely a problem. We do have Arya Starking in the board, so that opens up the option for Valor Magulis to just rip through this entire board. The problem is with there being that unique Maester and Mohenmere here, and then we also have Varys as well. So that actually takes care of the Valor Magulis outwit issue on this board. So at this point, he's going to force Greyjoy Conclave to have a Drowned God Fanatic in hand. And with Intrigue Stealth, that means Varys would be able to push through here and possibly either pull one. So it's definitely good shape. Ooh, that Dorn flip is not feeling good right now.
No. Right.
Because
Euron's about to grab it, right?
Yeah, Euron can actually come in for the grab. Unless now, Alejandro does have 5 gold. 1 Arahota, as long as there's not a Drowned God Fanatic, can actually save Dorn in this case.
And Drowned God Fanatic cannot stop. It could stop Varys, right? Can't
Correct.
stop Arya on a Valor next turn.
But next turn, assuming they cancel, then they're just going to go for Outwit to try and protect this board.
Well, what, 23 cards into Greyjoy's deck? Alex would be able to tell us what the math is that there's a Drowned God.
Well, there's also the 7 in Conclave as well. So right now, if there's a Drowned God Fanatic or multiples in Conclave, that is really bad for Harren at this point. So we're going to have 11 strength for the power challenge coming through.
You still want Hota to knock Euron out if possible.
If he has Hota, yep. And here's Hota coming down, so we'll find out if Drowned God Fanatic, and no.
Nice.
So that tells me either you have 1 Drowned God Fanatic in hand and you are committed to canceling this Varys, or you're dead on this board.
I hope.
Alejandro, I think I would have canceled just because Alejandro is going to get a 1 and 4 to
Yeah.
snipe it if you're saving it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, I think, plus grabbing Dorn is just so huge and impactful because giving you access to the draw, because Martell Wolf still has to eventually do challenges at you, and giving you the ability to then be able to take away not only their card advantage of filtering their deck, you're then able to filter through yours, find your pieces, and yeah, I would absolutely like have considered it.
Okay, dumb question for me. You were talking about the cards in Conclave, but you got to win a challenge with a Maester, don't you, to trigger that?
Yeah. So
Yes.
Trey, what we're saying is that if they're stuck in Conclave right now, like that's not good for Harren.
Yeah, because he would have to somehow win with Maester Mornmere, put it on top of his deck, and at that point it's way too slow because it doesn't have a way to draw a card before we get to the dominance phase. So if it's not in hand, like,
Yeah.
and if they're buried in Conclave, like, he may not actually ever gain access to them without, like, Maester Marwyn. And even then, Maester Marwyn won't be able to, because the Drowned God Fanatic has to be in hand, so even Marwyn doesn't, like, let you be cheeky and use them out of Conclave to cancel. Alright, so we'll have the intrigue go through. Ooh, and pulling Balon Greyjoy, that's a really key hit.
That Balin is extremely good.
Yeah, and I would definitely expect to see just Alejandro to do all the challenges on this one. Can also get through that power challenge as well, since Maester Mormir is the only character that can defend. So as long as it's not a Drowned God Fanatic, we're in good shape.
Okay, interesting
Ooh,
choice there, huh?
he selects Urine. I wonder if he forgot about Arya.
Seems unlikely.
I mean, there's no like, yeah.
I am confused outside of it being forgetting about Arya, because I don't think killing.
Chat,
Like,
do you see any reason why? I mean, it's
Is
not like
he playing Aaron? Ampere?
no. I'm
that might have
I'm
just been a straight
surprised.
up mistake, huh?
Okay,
So
honestly, with
now
that,
you
I'm
don't reset, do you? Or
you, it's
Alejandro
that's
may have
debate
to
Alejandro has to.
reconsider his life right now as far as what the plan was.
Well, so here's the major considerations on this. So both players are running Valor Morgulis. If you're Greyjoy, like, flipping it with no saves is awful. You have board superiority at this point. So yeah, Alejandro's just going to go with, he's going to keep that. We have March into VM, which again,
Right, who do you
he's
save?
going to march.
Yeah.
He's marching his Varys because
Yeah.
all these other characters don't matter, and this is going to just, again, rip through everything. If you're Alejandro, you're completely fine with this trade that just happened.
Yeah.
Because your Gas and Gray is now solid for the rest of the game until you need to pop it. Euron being dead means your Dorn is safe, as long as you draw one of the other copies to get back up. So yeah, and we have a Bolton Flare in Shadows as well. So off of 2 gold plus a sea tower, this is not going to be a good recovery from the Greyjoy side.
This is kind of a shame. You hate to see if that. Yeah, I mean, until we figured out how that wasn't an error, that seems like a.
There's two ways I could have seen it. It's possible he forgot about Arya. It's also possible that he was thinking, oh, I'm about to lose all 3 of my Euron, so he's effectively dead. And he just forgot about the fact that Alejandro might just choose not to Varys if I do this.
Yeah, because we also have Desert Raider now hitting the dead pile. Like, the only target that matters is Arya dying here, because that means Alejandro's, like, Valor may not have much bite. But we're also dealing with a case of where
it's already
you're
done
now
the damage,
set back.
Yeah,
your opponent just burning that Valor, you're completely fine, because their tempo hit is so bad right now. Martell Wolf wants this game to go long traditionally because you want to see your pieces. So you've now just increased the chances they're going to see a Ward, see Dorn, all these other pieces. They will be able to get a Glass Candle trigger here, which
Yeah.
that will be able to possibly have Corpse Lake get a power, but Bolt and Flare can easily just pop out here and then just like swing, and it's fine. Like you lose a card and that's it. We'll actually have Dornish Spy coming down instead to strip the icon, and that at least will take away like the unopposed and take away insight as well.
He could still bring up Bolton Flare. He's got the gold
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, Bolton Flare can still come out, so Alejandro has the access to be able to do 2 challenges here.
Hit Varys.
The Bolton Flare, though, would
Not do a challenge.
Yeah.
Because obviously military would be bad.
Yeah. So that would just be a downplay. So I think Bolton Flare is just going to keep in shadows. He pulls a Risen. That feels really good. And now I think Bolton Flare would come out just to be able to get that kill. Or he's going to opt for March to the Wall. And then just trade out. But yeah, this is, at this point, I don't know how many outs Greyjoy Conclave is going to have here. And especially shutting down this Maester from even possibly being able to get a challenge means, whatever's on Conclave right now is just locked there. And I don't think there's going to be many, if any, opportunities are going to come up to access those 7 cards. So we're going to have first Snow into Spoiling the Faith. This is going to hurt any tricks that you would normally want to do in challenge phase. So like that Bolton Flare is locked there. You can't even bring him out in marshalling without him getting tossed back to hand. But on the other end, you're going to have plenty of gold on Martell Wolf's side. And let's see what characters they can play out.
That is a pretty
Like
good plot
Ariane,
against
probably.
First Snow, though.
Yeah, so if you got your copy of Ariane, you can work around it. Ramsey is still a character that can certainly hit the board.
Last of the Giants can still be played with Water Gardens.
Yeah, Last of the Giants slamming down like Eliza Aaron.
Eliza on Corpse Lake would be like BG, probably.
Well, how do you keep Asha from getting marched here next turn?
Honestly, if I have Last of the Giants, I would think about snapping it and marshalling here, unless if you're Ground God Fanatic. That'd be the biggest concern. Asha is annoying, but she's only getting you draw. They don't have scouting vessels to really like accelerate their game, and she's getting marched 100%. And the problem on top of that is we do have the Desert Raider just tucked away in the dead pile, so it could always come out and even just take a straight kill. And there's a number of ways to do that outside of military. It could do a Tears of List because there are 3 copies, so it could always strip the intrigue icon, just moves from there. But we're actually going to have...
Well, actually could play Tears with Water Gardens.
Yeah. But it looks like we're actually just no Marshall from Alejandro, and we're just going to go right into challenges.
It's not that surprising, though, right? I mean, like the only thing he could have marshaled would have been Ariane, right? Or
Ariane, possibly Dorn, pretty much locations. Ramsey, Ariane were like the only targets here, and Asha's not winning the game here. Like Asha's just going to fish for a card at best, like maybe get like a power onto Corpse Lake, and then immediately is going off the table. And we have had all except Rationing flipped and Win or Die, which are 5 gold plots. So econ advantage is also not in their favor at this point. They're going to opt for a power challenge here, just because they're needing to just stay in this game as much as possible. Desert Raiders coming down, stripping the intrigue icon. That leads me to believe that Alejandro does have Tears of Lists, and he'll go for the intrigue, because that will also mean he's pulling a card out of their hand. They have a reserve of 4, though, so that hurts a lot. So half their hand is going away by the end of this turn. And It's not looking great.
Yeah, Alejandro doesn't actually want to march the raider. So
No, which he's gonna because he's got 3 plots left. So what does he have besides March the Wall? He has Morgulis, and then he also has you win or you die. And I can certainly see win die happening just because he wants to draw up. Like, and if he hits a Dorn, that helps buffer his reserve. If he has some receipt ports, that helps as well. And he's going to have so much econ to play with, especially with supporting the Faith now burned. So he's going to be able to overwhelm this board.
There's the Risen, but we see the marched anyway, right? Or
There's still one more march, and I think he might actually take the march in this case in place of the Desert Raider and just be satisfied with that.
Yeah, I would think
And
so.
And you still have Gas and Gray as well, so marching here is also fine, because again, whatever hits the board, like, they're essentially locked out of challenges if you want to. So even though it's 7-5, this is a very rough spot to climb your way out of. They flip Outwit. Won't be able to do anything about it.
Right?
Yeah, you need a unique Maester to be able to cancel. Interesting they go without Wit because it's such a low gold plot. The alternative options was Rationing, which was a 5 gold plot, or Win or Die, which is another 5 gold plot. Because this really doesn't give them a lot of resources to work with.
No.
Especially since as we see, it's just a reducer with Glass Candle. That's a venomous way to ward, just asking to happen. And since
the Flare takes care of it too, right?
Yeah. Though if you're wanting to make sure that Glass Candle doesn't fire off, warding's not going to protect that because the attachment will still be in control of Harren. So they would still be able to trigger it, look at the card, and still do a discard and like cheekily gain a power on Corpse Lake. On Alejandro's side, he goes Secret Schemes, drawing 4 cards. So he's got lots of resources to work with. At this point, power icons matter a lot. That House Dane Escort dying is a little rough, but there's still 2 more in the deck.
Does this tell you that he's still got you win and you die, right, Alejandro?
Both of them still have win die, yes.
I think this probably means Alejandro has a second Secret Schemes, right? Because wouldn't you normally want a Secret Schemes at the end of next round? Also, like after your reserve goes down, then you Secret Schemes while you still have 5 cards in your use plot.
He might, because right now we have 2 plots each, so we have Win Die and Valor Morgulis on Alejandro's side as his remaining plots. He'll have to decide which one he wants to pin at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be his deciding factor, and then the other end they can flip Rationing or they can flip Win or Die. I wouldn't be surprised if Greydrak Conclave actually opts to up. Oh, actually, excuse me. Glass Candle says character you control only, so that actually causes it to drop off from the ward. So that actually answers that problem there. So this is now an open board for Alejandro to just swing on and start picking up all the power he needs. I have to imagine if you're Greydrak Conclave, you have to opt for Win Die next turn just so it's not pinned as your plot, and you're just going to hope you can somehow, slow down Martell Wolf unopposed at this point so that you can flip it again and just hope you're able to get a couple challenges through. But we're still staring at Gas and Gray on the board and Water Gardens and all these tools that we haven't even seen Venomous Blade hit the board. This game very much feels like it is completely now in Alejandro's hands. Because we'll see 3 unopposed, we'll see Power Claim, and then we'll see Dominance. So this is going to be a 4 power turned.
So how did this matchup do in testing?
This was heavily favored for Martell Wolf.
Okay.
The biggest problem piece is Balon Greyjoy to it all because of the fact that he's able to access the discard pile for the opponent. So like this ward in the discard pile all of a sudden can be used against you. Plus it's a unique card as well. So you can be stealing away characters that way with ward. And then Drown God Fanatic, who we actually see discarded here, he gets really cheeky because if you have one in your dead pile, you could, for example, if you have Balon, steal Varys out of the discard pile and then Drown God Fanatic to kill him, and then that's one threat that's just out of the board, off the board completely for the rest of the game. So Balon is a real nuisance to this deck if he's able to get on board and then go unanswered. But otherwise, the general attrition, like as the economy line on plots, isn't great. And then on board, they only have a Rose Road and Sea Tower right now. So on a resource to resource level, Alejandro's way and above them, even without Dorn. We have the 7 cards of Conclave, for example, off the deck, and yet Alejandro's still outdrawn them without Dorn from Secret Schemes and the Green Blood Traders. And the power level is exactly where you want it to be. So for plots, Alejandro decided Val Margulis is the plot. He does not want Pin, so he's saving you win or you die. And Harren decided that win die is going to hold off. So next turn, it's all going to come down to the power totals. And I would expect Alejandro to be ahead on power still.
The one thing that seems a little weird is why did Alejandro marshal the Flayer instead of just putting it in shadows?
Well, he does still have the third one banked, so
he didn't need it to do 3 challenges.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He may not have committed that he was going to do the VM right away. He may have not made that decision, though. Flipping win die here on his side, like if you get through the 3 unopposed and the power claim, like that nets you the game as well. So a little surprised win die didn't get flipped unless he was expecting that to happen on the other side as well. But in either case, Alejandro still has all the pieces outside of Dorn when it comes to controlling what he wants. Going first here is a little rough because responding with Venomous Blades or Ramses isn't going to be as effective. But he's definitely going to have tools. So
why
we
is rationing in this deck?
Rationing, so it can be very impactful in some regards because it can just shut off reactions. And actually in this matchup, it can be big because Dorn and Desert Raiders can be shut off for a complete turn. It also stops stuff like Superior Claims if you're worried about rush decks. I have to imagine like that's possibly what they're concerned with.
Yeah, it took up Dorn's game as well.
Yeah. So any of those reactions, because this deck is not built on having reactions to actually winning the challenge itself in the initial reaction window. And it's 5 gold, it's 5 initiative. Like the stat line itself is solid.
The agenda is some of the agenda is triggered off of winning, right?
Well, the Conclave itself, there's the reaction to it to swap the cards, but Conclave has kind of evolved past the need of it to a degree with Maester Marwyn because he's able to normally gain you access to those cards through other means. So it's not a huge deal for you to not be able to trigger that reaction. And it's also for 1 turn, and you're controlling when the plot flips. So you will generally know like how impactful not having that reaction is, because you also know the 7 cards under your Conclave. So if you're not worried about triggering that reaction anyway, then you're smooth sailing. We do have, though, in challenges, we have Asha just marshaled with a scouting vessel, but we have Last of the Giants into Jock and Agar. And in a cheeky manner, Alejandro puts a token both on Asha and Jock and himself and swings this intrigue. And Asha's not going to be able to stop this. So without a Drowned God Fanatic or Risen, this is going to be a kill on Asha. And the fact Asha blocked this.
No, it's not a kill because of rationing.
Oh, excuse me. Yep, that's right.
Just to intimidate Asha to prevent a trigger.
Okay, yep, that's true. And instead they just opposed it. Yep. So no, good catch.
So I still think this is really good. I mean, when your opponent has 2 cards, preventing them from tutoring is huge.
Yeah.
Actually, tutoring 3 cards.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming that if he had no answer for Asha, it was just going to be Gaston Gray, and don't even let the scouting vessel get that far.
True.
But yeah, no, the intimidate actually was the important part there. And so we're just going to have a bunch of unopposed challenges go through. Now on this win die turn though, initiative is going to fall to Harren, so he is going to have priority.
Did he have a choice about Bolton Flare versus Southern
Yes.
Messenger?
So he killed the Bolton Flare there. I'm assuming because Power Icon on the Southern Messenger is everything compared to the Bolton Flare. Like Power Icons are a premium for Martell Wolf. They have been for a long time. The House Dane Escorts were, once the Martell box came out, really helped smooth that out, because for the longest time, you really had to rely on the Banner Wolf package to get you power icons, normally through like Core Arya and Bran would be the common grabs, and then warding for power icons. So that was kind of the big weakness of the deck, but being able to then like have House Dane Escorts to really supplement your package allowed you to then run like the no save Arya, which really makes the attrition have some bite. And then Southern Messengers are just another tool to keep the attrition on board, but also just a valuable power icon. But we do have Greyjoy leading off on the win die. We do have Balon hitting the board. So he has access to Ward and Varys. No, actually, yes, Varys is not dead. He could also steal a Greenblood Trader, a Desert Raider, or Dorn.
If Balon is triggered on Ward, then you temporarily get an opponent's character. Is that how that works?
Yeah, because he's controlling the attachment, so control will all.
Alejandro really wants a Ramsey.
Yeah, and speaking of Ramsey,
there it is.
Will Drowned God save, Fanatic save here, or?
So they're selecting their targets for sacrifice first, because for how it's keyed on Iron Throne, they make the selection, then Drowned God Fanatic can happen. But no, Drowned God Fanatic will not go through. If we have a second Ramsey, then that's all they wrote at that point.
I think we would have seen it already, right?
Yeah. No, if there was the other Ramsey there, I have to imagine, unless he's just considering there's a possibility that they're saving a Drowned God Fanatic in the event that there's one more Ramsey, but I still would have done it on the first one to keep Asha. Yeah. So I think it's safe to say there's no Drowned God Fanatic.
Dorn's not,
and there's no second Ramsey.
Right. Not that was necessarily the play, but
yeah. Honestly, based on what's on board, I'd steal the Ward to take the Southern Messenger.
Just
because then you're forcing like a Dornish Spy to come out. You're taking away a power icon. It's a lot to deal with. But at the end of the phase, Ward is going to go back into the deck and be shuffled. So control is going to swap back. And we're also flipping plots, so Balon's not sticking on the board past this turn. I do think Alejandro is locked out of securing the win on this turn.
Wait, why not do intrigue and power? Doing power and military?
I'm assuming he's cautious of like a Dornish Spy coming down, but at this point, like it
Dornish
doesn't
Spy
matter.
would like him regardless.
Yeah. I'm not sure what he's dancing around on this one.
I definitely was expecting intrigue and power.
Yeah, the intrigue to force out the tricks. So yeah, bit surprising. This is still going to be quite a power swing still.
I guess, yeah. Maybe
And
he's going to just leave Balon to win Dom because the renown doesn't matter because of March.
yeah, and that's quite possible, but the game state very much feels like this is a bit of a foregone conclusion. Now, plots have recycled, so late summer feast can certainly drop, so Econ's back on the board, which again, like a little surprised we had Valor Magulas flipped last turn instead of just going ahead and trying to take the win with a win die, because he definitely had the board and the pieces for it. We do have Dornish Spy, though, coming down, stripping the military, so he's just going to go for the outright kill. So we'll get unopposed. And Balon is now answered.
No save.
Yeah, we have 2 Ashes already in there as well. So there's not a lot of pieces left at this point. Now, since the ward went back to the discard pile and left play, the lasting effect from Balon did not trigger. We do have an empty hand, though, and yeah, like a bunch of the cheap maesters, Girl Good Brother, who's already no, he got March, so and then Black wins. I have to imagine Time of Plenty is possibly the consideration with an empty hand, but honestly, if you're Harren right now, I think you've pretty much come to the conclusion this game's lost at this point. But there's always the possibility of an amazing top deck.
If you're all 100, you just loan here.
We have them just going Riddle, Late Summer Feast. I mean, it's 11-8. They don't have a way to get 7 power instantly. You still have Gaston Gray. Like, that threat's been on the table from the get-go. So yeah, you're just gonna force him to show your hand, and that's a straight pass. So he bricked his top deck.
Ooh.
So a 1 power icon, and there's Ariane housing it. Yep, this is game.
Yep.
All right, so that's 4-3 for Team USA. We have Alejandro coming up with his regularly scheduled match, which is going to be actually Targ Valyrian Seal against Greyjoy again. So we've not seen the last of Greyjoy.
Yeah, it's going to be, what, in an hour and 45 minutes, 3 o'clock Pacific, right? Yep.
Let's check.
Yeah.
Yep. 3 p.m.
That sounds right.
So we'll see if Alejandro can close it out and take the round for Team USA.
All right, thanks, guys. People in chat, we'll be back in an hour and 45 minutes to cover the regularly scheduled Alejandro game. And we will see you then. Thanks.
Take care.